Okay. Hallelujah. It found us. We were 2.76 degrees off on our first object, but that's because during the battery death, I had to take the telescope back to the polar position, the home position. That's nuts. Okay, so now we're aligned. We've got our name in. Let's do our, let's check, by the way, our thermal controls and see what we're set on. Yeah, we want to set our target temperature on -8. Let's do our display histogram reset. And let's start live stacking on Lowers Nebula for the first time in my life. And let's let it bring a frame in. While that's working, let's go over here and see if, let's close our, well, now maybe that's aligned, our planetarium software. It looks like it is, so I'm going to look at Lowers Nebula. It's a 10th magnitude nebula appearing in the constellation Orion. Not much about it. It's a visual magnitude of 10. So it's very faint again. Do we have tracking on? Oh, that's just because it just plate solved and it scooted us to the right place. That's why those are all a little blurry. Let's back out to here. And now let's reset our this histogram and do a quick auto balance, auto stretch, and let's do a quick reset of color. Bring that over there and start looking for this Lowers Nebula. How about that? Do you think that's it right there in the middle? Wow. Thanks for whoever has joined us. I'm so sorry I crashed. My battery died. Let's zoom in at 20%. Yeah, that is it. Right there in the middle. Look at that. It is so faint. Let's do another reset here and another color balance. And let's bring this white down. And let's start playing with that red. And let's zoom in a little more now. Let's go to 33%. Look at that. Wow, that's incredibly faint. Just going to check and make sure my audio is still on. Are you guys hearing my audio? Let's go back over here first. Maintain smooth streaming. So we are streaming. Oh, Joel says our audio is okay. Thanks. Joel, thanks for coming back and finding us again. I'm really sorry. I've done this twice before. When I set up the scope and have the laptop out at the scope, I don't have it plugged in, and then when I bring it in, well, now we've got 3 guests, 4 people in all, 3 guests. So sorry. When I bring it in, I forget to plug it in, and so it's really nobody's fault but mine. Let's play with this black level and make sure that we like where that is. And let's play with these mids. And right there you can see it. Let's zoom in a little more, maybe 50%. Look at that. This is my first time to visit this object. It's so tiny and so faint. Lowers Nebula. This is so faint that Messier didn't even assign it a Messier number. He didn't even ever notice it. But we're even in the midst of Louisville light pollution. It's pulling it out, isn't it? Lowers Nebula. That's a little bit too much light pollution there. Let's go back to where we were and I don't know how much we'll gain by bringing this white over to right there maybe. Just depends on personal taste, how much sky glow you want to see to bring out the object. So that's Lowers Nebula. It's kind of like a splotch of red. And just you can start to see some some trails out here, just stardust. Now this might be dark nebula here. We have been stacking for just 5 minutes. Um, Look at that. You're starting to see some material out here, and maybe even as far out to there. If I come too far over with this mid-level, it's going to pick up so much of the sky glow. We're on 30 seconds at 100 gain. I really like to stay at 100 gain. So that's actually what we're going to go with here. We're going to save an image of that. Captured. Lowers Nebula. Now, what we're going to do is go back to our targeting software, and I'm going to come and join you guys there too. For some reason, it's not letting me see the targeting software. That's odd, isn't it? That's crazy. It's letting you guys see a frozen um, picture of it, but it's not letting me see it. So I think I'm going to put you on the Sky Safari for a second, and I'm gonna have to bring up that. I'm gonna bring up that Astro Planner window in Task Manager, and I'm gonna have to end that task kind of abruptly. But this is what happens when your batteries die. Now I'm gonna restart that and see if we can't get a new lease on life. We have 5 people now. Welcome. Glad you're back. What happened? We were on for the first hour or so, and then, unfortunately, I had forgotten to plug the laptop in, and the battery died altogether, which meant that every single connection we had made to everything was dead, and it was not a graceful killing. So we had to restore everything, and now what we're doing, last of all, we're restoring our connection to the targeting software, and I'm going to try to connect to the telescope, and it looks like it did, and hopefully we'll go back. Yeah, now we're cooking. Just was so, um, I might have to, there we go. So you're back there now. I'm going to say new observation of Lowers Nebula, and I'm just going to say this was the faintest blotch ever, but super interesting, even if super faint. And on attachments, I'm going to say grab a picture here from Lowers Nebula right there. So there's the picture of it. And then we're ready. Okay, so what this sorting does, this lets me find objects that are visible, and they're also um, high in the night sky. You can see my sort list is based on altitude. And we did M33 a while ago. I'm just going to right now show that as a quick. We did Uranus. We visited M74, and that takes us to M77. So we're going to slew to that. And everything looks good with the scope. So now M77. Let's go over to our planetarium program. Let me put you guys on that. And it's looking at Lowers Nebula. That's the last thing that we sorted. Now we're going to search for M77 and sometimes called NGC 1068. You know, I'm just happy to tell you that doing that thing where you flip the mount, it doesn't scare me a bit. We just did an entire flip across the meridian, and this mount does an excellent job with that. So no problem at all. NGC 1068 or CETUS A. So let's center on that in our planetarium program and kind of see what we're looking at. I'm going to broaden our view. This little rectangle you see, once again, that is the um, field of view that it is experiencing with the telescope. So I'm kind of looking at where we are in the night sky. Here's Cetus. Here's the meridian we just crossed. Pisces is here. Aries and Eridanus is not a real well-known part of the night sky. It's kind of in the southwest portion of the sky. So that kind of gives us a bearing of what we're looking at. And look at how we're going to have this object here. What is that? NGC 1055. So we might actually see two galaxies if we're lucky. And look how there are two bright stars here above that galaxy. So that'll help us to look for it. So let's go back over to our sharp cap window and change our zoom back out to auto and come down and reset things. Stop our live stacking, of course. Reset things. And let's do a plate solve. Did I pick solve only? I did, didn't I? I didn't say adjust with the frame. So in fact, let's just cancel this because what I wanted to pick is solve and resync. That's what we wanted to do. So what it's doing is taking a picture of the sky and comparing it to its database of stars. And then it's saying, well, actually, if you would like to see M77, you really would be a little bit better off if I nudged your scope a little bit in the right direction. Want me to do that for you? And that's what we picked is we picked, nudge us a little bit. So there it's telling us that we were 0.37 degrees off. But that's quite a bit. But remember two things. We did die, and then also we did a meridian flip. So 1/3 of a degree is not really bad considering all that. Now let's reset again. Let's make sure we change our name to our new target, which is M77. M77. Then let's start live stacking. And what I didn't do is, we got to clear our live stack. I didn't check that framing to see if we're going to be able to see both of those objects. So that'll be interesting to see how that works. Let's reset our histogram down here and do an auto stretch. It didn't have a frame yet, so it didn't find much in the auto stretch. Thanks for the two of you who are out there who stuck with me, found me in this new live stack. That must be Joel and somebody else. Joel, thanks for being there. And somebody else is with us too. Now we actually have 3 guests. Thank you for joining us. That's pretty bright, actually, isn't it? Let's do a reset and a restretch now that we've got some frames. And you know what else let's do before we go too far? Let's reset our color balance so we have as good of a start as we can. Boy, that's very red, isn't it? Even I can see that. Now let's pull our black up. It's because we don't have enough frames yet. Let's get one more frame. Over here on the left, under the live stack bar, it shows you how many frames you have. Now that 1 just changed to a 2. That gives us a little more reliable. Let's do another reset, another auto stretch, a reset of our color bars, and an auto set of our colors. And then let's pull the black level just barely to the right of those peaks, just barely. Boy, I'm not seeing a lot of galaxies there, are you? Wow, that looks pretty desolate so far. This white level looks pretty good where it is. Let's bring this mid-level in a little bit and hope that we can start seeing something as it stacks, because so far I'm not seeing much. Let's go back over to the planetarium program for a second. Sky Safari. And this is what we want to see is M74 Cetus A. And as you can see, it thinks that we're aimed at it. Let's see if we can get some info about that. Oh yeah, it's even got an audio tour. So I'm going to turn on the desktop audio, and I'm going to turn off my mic and play this for you.
M77 is a famous galaxy in the constellation of Cetus the Whale. It is a spiral galaxy with a bright center that is visible in small telescopes. A mottled surface around the center is visible in 150 millimeter and larger instruments. This galaxy is noted as being the first of many Seyfert galaxies. M77 is a famous galaxy in the constellation of Cetus the Whale. It is a spiral galaxy with a bright center that is visible in small telescopes. A mottled surface around the center is visible in 150 millimeter and larger instruments. This galaxy is noted as being the first of many Seyfert galaxies, identified for being unusually bright in the nucleus and as an emitter of weak radio noises. Also, M77 was one of the first galaxies to have its velocity measured, which showed the universe and all its contents to be in high-speed expansion. The area around M77 is sprinkled with many faint galaxies in range of 300 millimeter and larger telescopes.
Okay, so there you go. You're looking at SharpCap again, aren't you? Yes. Boy, I'm just not seeing it. We got 7 frames. Can any of you see that? You see the satellite. And look, we have actually 2 different satellites. Let me get this out of the way so you can see these satellites a little better. This satellite was moving pretty quickly. Look how we just caught a little bit of it. But look at this satellite moving a little more slowly. Wow. Now look, I wonder if that's it or that. Which do you think? Let's zoom in a little bit to our frame and see what we're looking at here. Let's move this over here. So probably it's this. Yeah, let me show you. I'll put you back on our Sky Safari window. See what it's supposed to look like? We're viewing it from like the top. So it's going to give us a bright core, and you can barely see these arms out here like dust. That's what we're supposed to see. Let's close this and look at it as if it's in the sky. And I'm going to back off and see our field of view. Okay, so that's all that we're going to see is just a bright core kind of if we're lucky, and then maybe if we're lucky a little bit of spiral arm. Look at that little star out there to the edge. If we're lucky, we'll see that. Okay, so let's go back over here, and I'm going to put you guys back over there as well in Sharp Cap. Now let's see if one of these, look, it could be that, couldn't it? So let's go back and get our live stack working again, and let's bring this in a little. Yeah, I think that's it. So let's zoom in a little more. It's interesting how that object is so bright there, isn't it? Almost looks, yeah, look at that. Starting to bring it in now. Isn't that something? It was just hiding there. It was hiding there all the time. It was just waiting for us to come. Joel says, no problem. Just trying to learn this stuff before I attempt it. Does SharpCap Pro automatically find a PlateSoft program, or do you have to just set one up in it? You do. You have to set one up. You go up under File, Settings, and come to plate solving. And are you seeing that, or is that a different window? I fear that you might not see that because I think that's coming up as a different window. But anyway, that's where it is. It's under File, Settings, and then there's a tab for plate solving, and you have to install it. But there are a couple of good YouTube videos. If you just search YouTube for uh, install plate solving or something, you'll find one, and eventually find one that connects you to SharpCap. What I just want to point out is look at this little dot that we're starting to see there in the edge of that. And that's coming because of our live stacking that's going on down here. Remember live stacking, it puts one frame on top of another. You can see we've stacked 14 frames so far. And what that does is it shows you the best that it can see from each frame. And it lets you choose how much, I guess you'd call it glow, that you want to see in your mid-level, and how much of your white level you want in compared to your glow. And some of you might be seeing some of this mottling, mottling. Joel says, cool, thanks. Well, we're glad that you asked. This mottling is just a little bit of that sky glow turning into noise. So that's not really part of the image. It's just noise because we're trying to scout out so much of the faint nebula. Let's press our luck and go up to 100%. And I don't think we can do much with that dark, but we can play a little bit with this light. But gang, if you stop and think, look at what we're seeing there. Kind of memorize that look. Like, remember what that looked like. Okay, you've got that little bright little dot there, and then you've got the bright core. You've got this dust or star material that's in a disk. Now let me put you back in Sky Safari. And Sky Safari cheers me up sometimes because look, the only thing it's showing us is a bright core and that dot. And then if we look at the object info and we look at it through whoever took this picture probably spent 5 hours gathering that material. This is a 5 hours worth of astrophotography here is what this is. And it's giving us that dazzling little bright dot there. And then it's helping us see some detail in the middle of the spiral. But you're not going to catch that when you just look at the sky and look at our field of view. This is actually our telescope field of view. This is a very tiny object. And you just, what I think you have to do is you kind of have to keep all that in mind. Let's do one other thing. Let's see if we can find NGC 1055. Let's see if it gives us any kind of picture of that. It doesn't. It just says it's a 10th magnitude spiral galaxy. And if we zoom in on it, look, it's not showing us anything. There's no picture there. So it admits there's not a lot to see, and I'm afraid that that's basically what we're going to see. Let's look for these two dots that are bright, and let's remember that this thing would look like a nose of those two dots. So now let's go back over. I'm going to put you guys back over into SharpCap, and then I'm going to join you there, and we're going to drop to maybe 75% and figure out where are those two dots. Maybe here, you think? So see, we're not seeing anything there at all. And I look back over in our planetarium program. Yeah, sure enough, there's a faint star between those two dots, and we're seeing that star pretty pronounced in our live stacking. So that NGC 1055 faint galaxy is right here. It's right there. Boy, I'm not seeing it. Nope. But we did get some spiral material, didn't we? You can see, if you look very closely, you can see some spiral material in the middle of that M77. Okay, that's probably 11 minutes is enough there. We're going to save that. And we've got 4 people with us. We are winding up on our last 4 minutes. We've got that saved. We're going to go back into our targeting software, and we're going to say new observation, and we're going to say pulled out M77. Couldn't see its companion, which was NGC 1055. NGC 1055 saw some spiral arms, and even that tiny star. I wonder if that tiny star has a name. If it does. Oh, it does. BD00413. BD00413. Then I'm going to grab that picture. That was M77, right? M77, right? Yeah, M77. Well, you get a sense of our workflow, even though we had that catastrophic battery failure in the middle. You get a sense of our workflow. It is come into the targeting software, picking out our object. You can see what happens. Once we do an observation, it makes a note of it for us. Look, there's the little picture it provided, so we could kind of see what we're looking at. Then we jump over to our Sky Safari, and in Sky Safari, we kind of look and see where's our field of view and what should it look like in our field of view. And then what we do next is go over to SharpCap, and in SharpCap we start our live stacking. We plate solve and nudge the scope to where we put that object in the middle, and do our live stacking and try to caress that object into view. And if and when we do, we take a snapshot of it just for good memory, and then go back to our targeting software and save that picture and make an observation note. And that's like one cycle. So those cycles, with me now at my stage, because I'm still a wild beginner, I'm still, learning. You can tell because I forgot to plug the laptop in when I got it back inside the truck. Because I'm such a beginner, those cycles are taking me 10 minutes or so. But the first time I did, this is my seventh time, I think, to observe. And the first time it would take me 45 minutes. So I have made progress, and thank you all for putting up with that. We've enjoyed a pretty good night without clouds here. I was a little concerned because I didn't know how long we would have a cloud-free night. The particular app that I use, Scope Nights or something it's called, that it was telling me we would last until sometime around 9 or 10 o'clock, and we made it. So we're gonna now uh, say goodnight to our live stream. I'll keep observing here, and if I find anything else, I'll do a little close up of it, and I'll put that on the site so you can always come back tomorrow to our. First of all, you can come back to our website, which is emeraldhillskies.com, and from there you can always see a link to go to our YouTube channel, which is also Emerald Hill Skies. Also, at that website, emeraldhillskies.com, don't forget that you can sign up to receive an email. And usually we send out an email 48 hours ahead. That's when we're starting to see a weather pattern that we're starting to trust. And sure enough, we did. We sent out this weather pattern 48 hours ahead. And then you can go to our YouTube channel, Emerald Hill Skies, and not only see uh, kind of a trimmed video of our live stream, which is usually like this. It's kind of going through the cycle of observing. But if we saw anything noteworthy, we will sometimes make little shorts, little short videos of those noteworthy objects. And those are usually just 5 minutes long, 7 minutes long. So you can get right to business and see the object through a quick cycle on those little videos. I want to thank Team Expansion for allowing us to use Emerald Hills. Emerald Hills is the headquarters of Team Expansion. Team Expansion is a mission organization based in Louisville, Kentucky, and I happen to be the president of Team Expansion. So we always thank Team Expansion for letting us use Emerald Hills, and we hope that through something you saw tonight, that you were able to admire something amazing that God did, and that always points you toward the heavenlies to be able to see God in creation. And so thanks a lot for being with us tonight. We'll close the live stream for now, but we'll look forward to talking to you again in the next live stream as soon as we can find some clear skies. And I hope you have clear skies wherever you are. God bless and have a good evening, and we'll say good night.